Welcome to the Zoe Routh Leadership Podcast, where we explore the future and what this means for your leadership. We ask the big questions. What's happening on the horizon? What does this mean for us? And most importantly, what skills do I need now for leadership of the future? It's time to explore. Let's go.
Hello there, it's Zoe, and welcome to the final episode of the Zoe Routh Leadership Podcast, as it has been known for the last 6 years or so. Don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. I am rebranding. So this is the big announcement I've been waiting to get to for the last, 2 months or so. And we are rebranding to the future of leadership. So why? Well, change is afoot. I've been really thinking deeply about how I deliver value to you, what's most useful to you, and I want to reshape the podcast a little bit to make it land better for you so that it's a great use of your time and energy. And because that is a precious thing. So apart from calling it the future of leadership, the other things that are going to be changing about the show, the artwork. I'm pretty happy with the artwork, so there'll be new artwork. It's if you're subscribed to the email notification for the show, you get a little sneak peek of the artwork. It is going to be topic-based, meaning that we will have a theme for each episode. I'm still going to have guests, and those guests will be asked to speak to the topic, largely related to a future focus, how it impacts leadership, and to be very practical for you, the listener, so that there is something tangible that you can walk away with every time you listen. There will be very specific subscriber-only material. So if you sign up on my website at zoerouth.com on the podcast link, you will get the bonuses that come with every episode. And I intend to put out implementation sheets, discussion questions, and water cooler factoids so that you can look cool at your water cooler or at your dinner party or at the lunch hall if you have a lunch hall. In the guest segment, we're calling it Tea Talk, tea time in the office kitchen. And the idea there is that it's going to be short, sharp, conversational interview or discussion with the guests. So that's a little bit of the shape of the show moving forward. If you're already subscribed in your podcasting app, no need to do anything. You'll just notice the new title, the new entry, new intro, etc. But it'll still be me showing up every week. I hope, that's my intention, in your ears to help you think better into the future and to hone your leadership. Today's topic is thinking rituals for future fit leadership. And I just love the idea of rituals, this bringing a bunch of solemnity to our daily practices. In fact, Dr. Jason Fox, whose book I love and is part of the Read to Lead section, How to Lead a Quest, a handbook for pioneering executives, is beautiful. And he says in there that rituals are conscious routines we hold sacrosanct. Sacrosanct. I love that. So we're going to talk about thinking rituals to help you be future fit for leadership. On Planet Human. Well, as I'm recording this, we have recently had an attempted assassination of Donald J. Trump in the US. And such a huge event is a call to think and reflect as leaders. And often what we go to is, what does this mean? And I think it's the wrong question. I think we need to ask, what could this mean? What could this mean? Because an incident is just an incident, and then we bring story and interpretation to that. And reading the Twitter threads or the X threads immediately after, I had to turn it off pretty quickly because people were making all sorts of stories up about what this incident meant. But what could it mean? I'm choosing to look at this incident through a number of different lenses. What is the opportunity in this? That sounds really callous. Let me explain. The opportunity is, it's an opportunity for compassion. It's an opportunity for us to be more curious about what would drive someone to want to execute the former president of the United States and a contender for the next election. What is still a concern for the people in the audience? What what is going on in the United States and here in Australia that is causing such divisions in our community. Where are people's hopes and dreams? What are the values that are being expressed in their concerns? And how can we come together to address the common needs and common challenges? And how can we stop judging each other and deriding each other and find a path forward? 2 people died in that incident. The shooter, who was executed by the snipers, and a man, a 50-year-old husband and father in the audience who was there in support of his candidate, in support of his own hopes and dreams for his family. This is a tragic event, and there's so much we can learn and hope for as a result of this. So what could this mean is a really useful question. And how might we find more curiosity and compassion through this event? All right, so that's what's been happening on Planet Human as I've seen it. On Planet Zoe, wow, so many changes. Mentioned the podcast. I've been doing a deep dive on technology as well. Last week, I spent about 4 days trying to figure out why my camera and my audio was no longer in sync. Oh my God, I tell you, that's just going down a rabbit hole of angst. And yeah, it's called software updating. And I tell you what really did help. I used Gemini, ChatGPT, and YouTube to troubleshoot the whole thing, but it took 4 days to figure it out. Yeah, and that's what it's like when we're learning and going through change. It just feels like you're pushing through blackness, that you're shoving stuff uphill, and you're lost in a oasis of language and functionality that you don't understand. And it's incredibly frustrating. It brought me to tears on a couple of occasions almost. And yet, I championed my way through it and managed to succeed my way through it. So those of us going through massive digital transformations, I feel your pain. And those who are spearheading that, anything you can do to make it easier for people, because what seems obvious to you is not obvious to other people who were not at the design phase of the transformation. Okay, so what else is happening? Yes, as this goes out, I should be moving into skiing. Yes, August has finally come. The snow has finally come here in Australia. And it is time for my hibernation project to be unleashed on the hills. So winter is typically when I go quiet in my practice in terms of client delivery, go big on idea development, which is definitely, my head is exploding with so many different ideas right now, and just getting out into fresh air for big views. And that's what I get when I go skiing. So that's all coming up. Book writing is more like book thinking. I haven't written a single word in the Power Games book. I'm still in research and connecting the dots phase, ideating. And on that, the Power Games survey is still open until the 31st of July. So if you want to help contribute to the research, I would be so grateful, whether that's just completing the 6-minute survey or actually doing an interview with me, all anonymous, so that I can get an understanding of how power dynamics are affecting people in the workplace and what we can do to shift beyond that would be really, really helpful. So the link will be in the show notes. You can just click on that, do the 6-minute survey. That would be fantastic. The other thing that's happening in my world is Grace Under Fire, my next program to deliver in September. It's how to navigate power games in the office, is all open for enrollment. A couple spots are gone already. Early bird finishes at the end of this month. So if you're interested in either of those things, Grace Under Fire workshops, it's webinar based, and the Power Game survey, please click on the links in the show notes and sign up. So the what if question I started with before I started digging into the topic for today was, what if brain-computer interfaces become a reality? Now, I actually took that to the next degree in my novels. Olympus Bound features a brain-computer interface called the ThinkLink, and one of the characters has it installed. I won't, actually 2 of them do. I won't spoil the story if you haven't read it yet. And how this affects their leadership, how it affects their relationships, and how it affects their sense of self is something I explore there. As a fact, though, I've always wondered, okay, if this is coming, that we're going to have things implanted into our brain, what do we need to master first in order to make best use of this? And one of the things I realized is that we work in partnership with artificial intelligences, whether they're embedded in our brain or on our screens. We need to be better at thinking through processes on our own before we start recruiting the help of AI. AI can sometimes help us think better, but we need to actually start the thinking off. So this idea of thinking rituals to lead better into the future is what I have crafted for you today. And central to that, and a big inspiration of it, is Dr. Jason Fox's book, How to Lead a Quest, a handbook for pioneering executives. And it is beautiful. I'm recording this in video, and I will include a video section on my YouTube in Read to Lead. But it is a beautiful book. And it's beautifully illustrated by the Dangerlam, Jason's partner. And he's just such a great writer. And he thinks very deeply about how to think about the future and questing in contemporary organizations. So, what are these rituals? I hear you say. I'm going to do it in reverse order than how Dr. Jason Fox outlines it in his book. There's daily rituals. And as a thinker, I think we need to start with the path, which is your vision, making sure that you have a daily practice of just checking in with your vision. For me, I have a little post-it note, or postcard, I should say, with the 2 things that I care most deeply about that are my purpose in life. Just have a quick glance at that. I'm good to go. Not even 30 seconds. The second daily ritual is making sure I have my 3 mission critical actions outlined for the day so that I know those are my top 3 priorities. That's a win the day recipe, and that will move me forward on that path. So that's the performance focus. And the third daily thinking ritual is more projection than reflection. The first 2 were reflection. So thinking about my path, thinking about what my performance is. And then projection is what else is out there in the environment. And I like to think of these as pebbles. And so looking at my curated feed, what are the interesting stories that are popping up there? And I kind of just pick those up and put them in my pocket to see what comes of them later. It's like, that's interesting. I'll just pop that to the side or pop that in my special folder in my inbox to reflect on later. So that's daily practice, path, performance, and pebbles. A weekly practice, I like to look at reflection first. So what's my progress been this week on the critical measures that I'm tracking for indicating that I'm on the right trajectory in my path? I look at problems. Where are the problems in my processes, in my team? Not that I have a team right now. Actually, no, I do have a team in my book production and podcast production. So where's my progress? Where are the problems? How can I reduce the friction in our processes? Because friction slows us down, like 4 days working on tech. Oh my God. The third thing I look at is patterns in the pebbles. So I have a look at those pebbles of information, think, there's some patterns here that are emerging. Anything over the week? And then I just put that to the side. Then we move to monthly rituals. And the monthly rituals, thinking rituals, are to check results. If you're not checking results monthly, at least monthly, then you're not checking to see that you're on the right path. So checking results. 2 other things that come monthly I think are useful is connection. Making sure that you're not just stuck in your own little universe, head down, bum up, doing this thing. Having some sort of deep ritual where you're connecting with other humans, whether it's a long lunch, a walk around the lake, or something like that. In my business, I have walks of awe, which I don't do monthly. I do it closer to quarterly. It's a way of having a deep, unstructured way of connecting with people. So having that connection piece is really important because we get so much inspiration from other people, and that sense of feeling like we are together and that sense of community is really important. So connection is super important. The third thing in the monthly rituals is having some sort of club, learning club, whether it's a book club, studying a video, or studying a short story. Interesting fact is that if you use ChatGPT to say, what are some great short stories I could listen to on YouTube, it'll give you some suggestions. If you have a theme, Then you can put a theme in there. It can give you some suggestions as well. And if you come together with other people to reflect on these stories or these videos or this book, you can make a whole smattering of new connections. So the monthly rituals are checking results, connecting with others over a long lunch or a walk, having some sort of learning club, book club, video club, storytelling club. Now, your quarterly rituals are review your big experiments, your big projects for the year. Are you still on track? What's happening this quarter? Have you implemented too much, not enough? What's working, what's not working? So looking at those bigger pieces of your yearly structure is really super useful at this point. Quarterly, I think it's also useful to look at reviewing your strategy overall. Is the recipe that you've got for your business and for your team still working? Do you need to change tack because of something that's changed in the environment? And the third piece in quarterly is have an external learning event or attend an external learning event. So this expanding your skill base, expanding your perspective, having something to look forward to where you're going to learn something more extensively, I think is really good. So that's the quarterly one. Review your experiments, review your strategy, and do a deep dive in an external learning event. We come to yearly thinking rituals now. And these are straight out of How to Lead a Quest by Jason Fox. One is future mapping. So I love this. It's kind of scenario planning. I would call it scenario planning. He calls it future mapping. It's where we look at these possible ambiguities, collisions, contextual analysis of what's happening out there in the larger world. How is that affecting our team, our organization? And what is that shaping for us moving to the next 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 years? So doing this future mapping piece is looking at the possible futures and seeing where the opportunities are. Jason divides that out from what he recommends as the strategic immersion. He says, do a 2-day offsite and you immerse yourself in your strategic options. Which experiments will you run to lead into each of those different futures? So it's looking at all the things you might possibly do and strategizing which experiments you're going to test and go with. I add to the yearly rituals lessons learned and celebrations. I think this is a really important cadence of reflection and projection. So it's very easy to always look forward and go, oh, there's so much further to go. We often forget to look backwards and see how far we've come. So when we look back, and if we've been keeping our success journal, we can flip through that and see about all the cumulative successes and little drip feeds we've accomplished along the way over the last 12 months, the lessons learned from experiments that we've tried and implemented, and have a ritual of learning, acknowledgement, and celebration, because we've made it another turn around the earth, and that's actually pretty good accomplishment in itself. All right, so that's your daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly rituals. Subscribers will get a handout outlining all of that, so you can use it as a handy dandy cheat sheet to share with your team. There's some discussion questions you might want to run with your team about how you might implement this. Read to lead. I actually have 3 for you, and they are categorized in be, think, do. So my B recommendation for books this week are Search Inside Yourself by Chade Meng Tan. Chade Meng Tan worked at Google as the Jolly Good Fellow. He ran mindfulness programs, and so I pulled this book off my bookshelf. So it's in the I'm keeping this book pile, and I've been reviewing my bookshelves because I'm moving to Newcastle next year. Not every book can come with me because we're downsizing. And I looked at this book and I thought this was a really powerful book when I picked it up and read it. It's worth a check back in. It's beautifully illustrated with little cartoons. It's a lovely treatise on how to look after yourself, how to practice meditation, mindfulness, your inner dialogue, how to connect meaningfully with people, how to deal with conflict, and how to practice world peace. It's actually a very feel-good, uplifting book. So that's Search Inside Yourself. The subject line of the what's the line that comes underneath it? The unexpected path to achieving success, happiness, and world peace. There you go. That's the B book. The Think book, which I've mentioned quite a lot, is How to Lead a Quest, a handbook for pioneering executives by Dr. Jason Fox. It's just a beautiful piece of work. I have the hardcover edition. I recommend that you get that 'cause it's lovely. And inside, it's nice typeface. It's got lovely little illustrations by the Dangerlam, who's Jason's partner. Just trying to get you a nice one. And Jason's writing is just so fabulous. He has a huge vocabulary for one thing, and he's very witty. He's incredibly intelligent, and it's going on an adventure reading this book. And it really is about being a pioneering executive, a call to adventure. Use the hero's journey as part of the metaphor. He talks about the krakens and the dangers and so on. So it's a fun way to look at strategy and big picture thinking. And I have a huge amount of respect for Dr. Jason Fox's work, and I love this book. This is definitely coming with me to Newcastle. And I look at this and I pick it up and review again. It's like, right, the discipline of practicing these rituals, of practicing methodology is super important, not only for me and my business, but for my clients. So this is the Think recommendation for the week. And the Do book recommendation is The Art of Impossible, a Peak Performance Primer by Stephen Kotler. So I have the hardcover edition of this as well. I snapped this up as soon as it came out. It's my favorite book of Stephen Kotler's because it is how-to practical. He is a brilliant writer as well, and it is a deep dive on the neuroscience and practical implementation of how to get more flow in your world. It's very practical, easy to implement, and really useful, because when we are in flow, we are more creative and we are more productive. We think more clearly, we have more fun, we get more things done more quickly. Better things happen when we have more flow in our world. So that's our Read to Lead for the week. That's it for the final episode of the Zoe Routh Leadership Podcast. The next show coming to you is The Future of Leadership. I look forward to bringing all the new information, insights, and usefulness to you through the show. We have some amazing guests coming on the show as well. And I look forward to your feedback. I would love to hear from you. Feel free to reach out by email, zoe@zoerouth.com. Send me a direct message on LinkedIn and through any of the socials. I'd love to hear from you. If you've got any book recommendations, if you've got any guest recommendations or topic recommendations, I appreciate all of that. In the meantime, thank you so much for listening. Many of you have been listening for all 6 years that I've been producing the show. Oh my goodness, you are amazing. I hope it's been of value to you, and I hope we continue to be of service to you into the future. The Future of Leadership will be launching on 27 August, so I will see you again in just a couple of weeks for a brand new show. See you then. In the meantime, live with grace, lead in service, live well, lead well.
You've been listening to the Zoe Routh Leadership Podcast. To find out more about leadership of the future or to contact Zoe, go to zoerouth.com.